Marcus, thanks for coming to the podcast.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. And, I saw you at an epilepsy event for the Epilepsy Foundation and told Brittany, I was like, hey, I need to talk to him. So she hooked us up. So appreciate Brittany doing that. But I guess we'll start here. You were diagnosed with epilepsy back in 2014. And can you kind of take us back to that time? What was it like? What was going through your mind when you first heard those words? Obviously, you had a lot going on in your life. You were playing football, and I'll let you explain more about that. But so yeah, just walk us through that.
Absolutely. So it was definitely. I mean, I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't understand it. And still, a lot of folks today, I mean, don't even really kind of understand necessarily the concept of what it is. There's no cure, right? But came out here originally from Ohio, right? Columbus, Ohio. Originally from Columbus, Ohio. Came out here for to play sports, play football at ASU.
Yes, sir.
Right, and regular kid, just chilling. I was in the weight room one day, and lifting weights in the weight room, and I just dropped out.
Oh wow.
Dropped out. Woke up in the ambulance, and I remember the first time. I tell the story all the time. I remember that the first day when I come to my senses, right, when I'm in the ambulance, they're like, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." And I'm like, "What's going on, right?" And they're like, "You just had a seizure," and I was like, "Seizure? Isn't that for old people?" I had no clue, man. I had no clue. I was just completely ignorant to the fact of what that was, right? And what embodied, epilepsy and just in general. But about a month later after that first initial seizure in the weight room, I was diagnosed. Had some good folks around me, of course, and I guess I'll say this too. I mean, if it happened at the right time in a sense in my life, because I was in college, right? I was playing sports. I was in college, so I had a good foundation in regards to access to the best doctors. Barrow, right? Mayo Clinic. I was at Barrow, Mayo Clinic. So shout out that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a big difference having that support.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what did they, so you're in the weight room, you're training, you're doing athlete life at college. That's kind of your dream at this point. What was it like from there on? You're starting to go to doctors, figure out what's going on, but what was that process like?
Man, it was tough. It was tough. Just being a gladiator, right? Of the sport, right? You coming from Ohio, you're like, all right, you got a destination, we got a plan, right? Math is my favorite subject, like, right? 1 + 1 = 2, right? Something is adding up to the plan, right? Whatever that equals, right? The equal sign for me after that, was football. It's like, hey, that's the reality, that's the dream, that's what, is going to happen, right? And when they told me, after they diagnosed me with epilepsy, right? I continued to play. Actually. So, I mean, I had, again, had access to the best doctors, but I was probably having about 3-4 seizures a week.
Okay.
Of course, they went through the process of putting me on medication and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But I still worked out. Still hit the weight room every day. Right. I mean, of course, took some time off right after the first initial diagnosis to get an understanding of what was going on. But after that, I made the decision that hey, I'm gonna still live my dream out. Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live my dream out till the wheels fall off, and I continued to play. End up retiring 2000. It was 2016 that I announced my retirement. But I did continue to play till the wheels fell off, and I had I had a lot of support, right?
Yeah.
I had a lot of support, coaches, teammates, right? Family, of course, best, being and the luxury of being on a full ride scholarship, right? You have access to the best doctors, the best of the best, of course, Mayo Clinics out here, Barrows out here, so I had access, to a lot of stuff that regular civilian may have not had access to, right? I couldn't imagine what those expenses would have been like, right? If I weren't on a full ride scholarship. But it was definitely a turning point for me, man, because reality set in. It's like, all right, this is a mask essentially that you may have to take off.
Right.
Eventually, this is a mask you may have to take off, or you might have to sacrifice, certain things for the betterment of your health.
Right.
So it was definitely a hard transition going through that, man.
Yeah. What position did you play at ASU? What was your kind of what position did you play?
So I played so what we called it a spur position.
Okay.
Kind of like a nickel backer. Pac-12. You're gonna see the ball in the air about 65, 70 times a game for the most part,
Yeah.
right? So say it was a linebacker position, but it was a nickel backer in space position.
Yeah.
And then about 2015 to the end of my career, I played safety. So I came in as safety.
Yeah.
And then switched to spur, and then switched back to safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was just like when you're at ASU and you're playing, you're doing this, you have this, this dream. And actually, let me take it back, because I think there's a lot of people who don't really fundamentally understand epilepsy, because it's just kind of, once again, people just don't know. So when you're having these seizures, explain that. Was it like, what does that look like for you?
Like, when you say what does it look like for me, is like when you, as like an athlete, or like going through the process of like just being in college.
Like, for example, sometimes, and I don't know the proper terminology, but when you're like, there's certain seizures where you're kind of fully out of it,
Right.
and having a seizure, right?
Yep.
And then I've heard people say sometimes they have audible seizures. There's these different types of seizures.
Yeah.
Were you having what type were you having?
Yeah. So that's correct. That's correct, Matt. So there's different formalities of seizures, right?
Yeah.
You got absence seizures. Absence seizures kind of look like someone spacing off. You might see someone space off, right?
Yeah.
Come back to. That's an absence seizure, kind of like an absent, right? So,
Yeah.
But then you got the full clonic chronic seizures, which are the convulsions, right?
Yeah.
So I was having the plethora. I was
Okay.
having, the plethora of everything that comes underneath the umbrella of, what embodies epilepsy, right? So, I've had, I can't count on how many seizures I've had in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But and it got to a point where I was, like I said, I was having about four a week.
Yeah.
Interrupted game day, right? I've had seizures before games, couldn't go play. I've had, I've actually wrecked my Camaro having a seizure.
Oh wow.
And I was actually on the way to practice, man. I was on the way to practice, and I guess I hit a electric voltage box. Luckily, by the grace of God, I managed to stay straight.
Yeah.
Woke up, police is crying, and I'm like, what is the police crying for? Right? Because when you do have a convulsion, or you come out of it, right? You're disoriented. You're not aware of what's going on, right? So you wake up, and I see the police crying. I'm like, what's this about? Like, and he's like, man, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And I'm still coming to my senses. I don't know.
Right.
I get out the car, and I'm like, what the heck? But
Yeah.
like I said, by the grace of God, I was again going straight. I managed to stay straight. Right? Hit a electric voltage box, man. And
Were you on like a two-way going?
so it was just one. It was right off a pre. So you can go this way. The car's coming this way. So it's one way. So like luckily, I didn't hit anybody.
Right.
I didn't harm anybody. I didn't harm myself, kill myself. Right. So it's like, God has definitely been. All glory to him. God has definitely been by my side during the journey. But as it relates to football, just in general, brother, it's been tough. It was tough. Like I said, more so just an identity thing, right? When you're 17, 18, 17 years old, and your dream is becoming reality, and you're like, all right, I got the scholarship now. Yep, I got this now. Yep, I'm the man on campus. I got a starting position, or you working your way up, to that. Right, or whatever that vision looks like for you, and then when setback, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's an ankle injury, right? Whether that's a broken collarbone, right? Whatever the case may be, that setback was tough, because you kind of become essentially defined, like mentally, you define yourself,
Right.
By that, you define yourself, under the disability or injury that you have.
Yeah.
So doubt starts to creep in, and it's tough, man.
Yeah. Well, you also feel so you're at that age where you feel invincible. Like nothing can touch me. I got the world on my
Exactly.
shoulders. I can make this. And and I gotta imagine too, like you said, I never played pro or college sports or anything like that, but especially when you've been chasing a dream, grinding, making it happen, and you're there, you feel like, hey, I've made it through everything thus far. I can make it through this.
Make it through it.
So, you mentioned that there's a transition period, right? You're having these seizures, you're going to the best doctors, you have this great support circle, but your body's telling you, I got to take a different path. What's that transition like? How do you deal with that when you feel like this invincible 17, 18-year-old and life smacks you hard?
Nah, man, and that's a good point that you made. Like you said, because you feel so invincible.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, man, regardless of where you go, right? There's of course tiers and levels to college. Hey, if you look at it, now transfer portal's a little different now, so that
Sure.
now in my opinion, it didn't mess it up where you didn't mess the nature of the sport up. I kind of like it.
You like the transfer
Right,
portal?
I like it a little bit, right? It got its pros and cons to everything, but there's of course, right. You got the D1 level, right. You got D2, right. You D3, right. Wherever your levels, you got your kind of different infrastructure in the D1 levels, right. You got your Alabamas, you got your Ohio States, right. Right, and you got your ASU, or whomever where it is, right. Georgia, whatever when you go to, but anybody, right. Any 17-year-old kid, right. That is, all right. I'm out of my way from Ohio, right. I'm out of my way from wherever they're grown up.
Yeah.
Completely invincible. Soon as they get to campus, you're on a full ride scholarship. You feel completely invincible.
Yeah.
Right. You're in that space. You're in that headspace. It's like, man, nothing is gonna stop me.
Yeah.
Right? Like nothing is gonna stop me. I'm gonna keep grinding. Nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna make it. Right. I'm gonna be that 3% that go to the next level. Right. So that is tough. That was tough to unmask.
Yeah.
Right. And the toughest part for me to kind of find identity of what that next phase was going to look like was really coming to an understanding that this was a setback that was for the betterment of my life. I didn't know at the time. I couldn't understand, right?
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. It's
Right.
not understanding, right? Not understanding why this is happening, right? Regardless if it's, again, a simple injury that sets you back or, the disability that sets you back. But the toughest part was, for me specifically, was like, man, I don't know what this is. I don't know what is going on. They're telling me I can't. There's no cure for it.
Right.
They are giving me the leisure to go play as well.
Sure.
So, what does it look like? And when I kind of set it down, and I'm like, all right, it's really time to set it down. I'm having too many seizures, right? I'm because I was a hitter too, right? I'm going out there and smack somebody, right? So
Yeah.
so when I came to that that point where I got to set this down, the hardest part for me was those little voices in the back of your head telling you that you are confined and or defined by your disability.
Sure.
That was tough.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you do in that circumstance? Because obviously, in the moment, you're probably looking at all these factors. It's brand new. It's kind of hitting you all at once, and you're trying to just process. What's next? Why is this occurring? Now you have a little bit more, hindsight, right? And that's always, they always say hindsight's 20/20. But looking back now, what, how did you deal with that?
Man, family, prayer, absolutely. Prayer, all glory to God, but family and the support around you, like lifting you up. And it's tough. It's tough because at the frequency, depending on how many seizures you're having, right?
Yeah.
Weekly, daily, monthly, right? It can be tough. Like I got to a very low point where it almost seemed like my job was to wake up, have my seizure, get it out the way, so I can wake up again.
Right.
Like that's what life looked like.
Jeez.
Like that's what life looked like. And I of course, after post college, I found some identity. I found some, not necessarily identity, not centering myself or grounding and kind of confirming that, but more so just finding something to do. Right.
Right.
Did some sales stuff post college, right. But as far as living, man, I wouldn't even say like I was actually really like living, man.
Yeah.
I was having so many seizures weekly. I was having about 4 or 5 seizures a week. That
Yeah.
like my goal was more so just to wake up. My mind space was, all right. Let's wake up. Let's get this over with. Seizure, hurry up and come so I can wake up again.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for family and me staying consistent in my faith and folks supporting me and waking me up and still giving me understanding of what my purpose was, and not carrying that why me, that victim mentality.
Yeah.
Right, not being a victim but being a victor.
Yeah.
Right, they were pushing that, they were embedding that in my head every day.
Yeah.
And that made the transition a little bit easier, right, when you had that support.
Yeah.
And you can come out of that victim mentality, right? Because the hardest part again specifically with this disorder, specifically with epilepsy in general, is like there's no cure,
Right.
and there's no why,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if I go tell you, hey, let's go jump off a cliff, you're gonna ask me what, why,
Yeah.
like, right? If I can give you a why,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? If there's $1 million at the
bottom of that
cliff,
jump. Yeah.
you might make the jump, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but I'm saying there's no why. So
Right.
so the hardest part is like, okay, well, I can go play. I can still go be victorious on this football field. You're allowing me to do so. At one point, I know I got to give it up because too many seizures weekly, but I don't even know why this is happening,
Right.
and no doctor can tell me why.
Yeah.
That is the hardest part. That was the hardest part of it, is not getting an answer.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like leaving that relationship without, y'all bad terms, good terms,
Yeah.
but you're just leaving without an answer,
No
right?
closure.
No
It's just
closure.
open loop.
Absolutely no
Yeah.
closure. So you start to go into this victim mentality,
Yeah.
because you're never going to get your answer, or you feel like you're never going to get your answer.
Mm-hmm.
But my family, and staying prayed up, and having faith and waking up with purpose, because my family continued to let me know, like, hey, this is not a no.
Yeah.
Right? This is not a no. It's just not a not right now.
Right.
Situation.
Right.
And it's going to get better, and it allowed me to keep a positive mindset and wake up with a purpose.
Yeah. How many games did you end up playing while you were having epilepsy or seizures?
And so I was diagnosed 2014. And first game was by the end of 2000, or we were in 2014, middle of the season 2014, all the way up to 2016.
Okay.
Yep.
So a couple years you were
Yeah.
trying to battle it out and play, and
Yep.
and were there quite a few games you were just having to sit and not allowed or not cleared to play, or how did that?
Yeah.
How did the school handle that? How did everybody handle that type of situation?
Man, that is a ASU. I love y'all, but as far as like being cleared to play, I mean, all the football players, you hear this. I mean, there's several folks, and this is why the concussion protocol and all that stuff is, just becoming something that's super, super serious.
Right.
Right. Not just because of course folks are, you got the CTE stuff, you got the concussion stuff, right?
Yeah.
Folks, the longevity of a lifespan, right? Longevity of the lifespan in the NFL or any college sport anyway is not long at all anyway.
Yeah.
But just for the betterment of health, they sweep stuff under the rug a little bit.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, they sweep stuff under the rug a little bit. But it's the games that I had seizures, before, the games that I had, clonic chronic seizure was the convulsions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had those before. Right, if I had woke up out of one, because some of them can be anywhere from 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes. If I woke up out of them and it was before game day, 2 days before game day, and I was feeling up to it, I was feeling good.
Yeah.
Right. Essentially, in that victorious spirit too, in that gladiator spirit too, I was telling coach like, "Nah, I'm playing."
Right.
Right. So it wasn't just all on ASU as well. Right. The absence seizure is a little different, but again, a seizure is a seizure, right?
Sure.
Disorder is the disorder. So, um, you know, could I have told them or at an earlier time that nah, that's not the best thing. Yeah, absolutely. But again, like you said before, just feeling invincible.
Yeah.
Right. It goes back to that, just feeling invincible. I would wake up out of seizures, uh, before a game, 24 hours before a game, and I'm like, nah, coach, like, I want to go hit somebody.
Right.
Like this is what I came here to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, yeah, it's I get well in sports especially too. It's just it's a culture of toughen up, make it happen, fight through it. So it kind of breeds that type of mentality, and so it's one of those it's one of those tough calls where you're like, it's hard, especially when you're in it, and that's what all you want to do. So how did you? Because I think it's really I'm really intrigued by the talking about how the non-victim mentality.
yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, whether it's epilepsy, whether it's anything,
Yeah.
if they're struggling, it's so easy to slip into that why me victim mentality. And you talked about how your family played a key role, but how do you? Because it sounds like is epilepsy something you still struggle with to this day, or how's that kind of played out? And then how have you kept yourself from just going to that victim mentality and holding yourself back from continuing forward?
Man, that's a great question, man. And again, all glory to God, but
Yeah.
waking up, and you're probably like, what does this guy mean? Like, what is this guy talking about, right?
Yeah.
But again, I can't count how many times, right? Countless seizures, right?
Yeah.
Countless seizures, seizure after seizure after seizure. I've had my first brain surgery was 2018. My second brain surgery was 2021, and my third, and I claim this, my third and final brain surgery was 2023.
Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about having seizures before games, we talk about having a seizure, wrecked a car, woke up, right? Had a seizure in the weight room, woke up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Had a first brain surgery in 2018, I woke up. 2021, go fast forward, I woke up.
Yeah.
2023, I woke up. Standing here today.
Yeah.
Right? For me, when I look back at it, in hindsight, right, like you said, like now, going through it, there's that balance of, okay, well, you can feel like a victim, right, and rightfully so,
Sure.
rightfully so, because it's tough, it's absolutely tough, but in hindsight, when I look back at this, man, waking up after everything that I've been through, can nobody tell me I don't have a purpose.
Sure.
Right? Waking up after so much stuff that I've been through, just going into brain surgery, right? This is not like a shoulder surgery,
Yeah.
right? This is
some serious
somebody, this is somebody cutting into somebody's brain, right?
Yeah.
And waking up, right? I've always kind of just took that with me, like I woke up after every seizure, I woke up after every brain surgery. There's gotta be a reason that my Heavenly Father wants me here, needs me here, right? There's gotta be more, right? Like I've gotta. There's no, because there's no rhyme or reason, right?
Yeah.
It's like, man, how I went through so much, so I've just carried that in my heart and carried that mentally. It's like, man, you woke up, and you've been blessed to wake up, and there's folks, and I pray, and condolences and prayers and blessings to folks that haven't, right? And you got to always remember that as well, right? To kind of really draw back on the question and answer that specifically too. There's a lot of folks in the epilepsy community that haven't woken up.
Yeah.
Right. You got Sue that sudden death for seizures, right? So you got folks that didn't get that second breath of air
Right.
after a seizure, right? So waking up and having the ability to still have breath in my lungs,
Yeah.
right? Breathe air, right? See family, be with family. Like I felt like I owed it to myself and I owed it to everybody that was around me, that was supporting me,
Yeah.
to carry that victor,
Mm.
spirit and mentality,
Yeah.
and not that victim mentality.
Yeah. No, you definitely, and I think that's a good way to put it, because you don't take life for granted, and in some ways it's like, that alone is your purpose. Gotta consistently cherish the moment you have, and I think that's for everyone. No one knows how long they got,
Right.
and but
Seriously.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and anyone could. You just never know, and so, but sometimes it takes situations to really put that in perspective, and I think a lot of people don't ever wake up in a not necessarily in a literal sense, but they don't wake up mentally because they're seeing all the things they don't have or all the things that they're not given or whatever it may be.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that because I always actually play this example with my friends and my kids and my family. It's like I always tell them, if I give you $1 right now, right?
Yeah.
You'd feel the dollar. You know what a dollar feels like. You may smell it, you may feel it, you go spend it, and then you would want another what?
Another dollar.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So we get in this mindset of well, I want what he has, or I want what she has.
Yeah.
I like what he has, or I like what she has, or we get in this mindset, especially nowadays, with all of the access that we have to the world, right? Through the social media platform, which is a blessing.
Sure.
Right? But we kind of point at all the things that we don't have and we want. So you're already kind of embodying that spirit or that mentality of, well, what I have here, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, just to go through what I've went through and look back at it all, and waking up was enough.
Yeah.
Because I can look back and say, again, there's folks that haven't woken up, and I can cherish life and cherish being here, and actually dig deeper into my purpose and get an understanding why, right? Why God chose me to wake me up, right? Why was I chosen, right? That's kind of how I feel. It's like there's a reason that I'm here. There's a reason I'm here today after what I've been through. And I owe it to not only my folks, my family, my community.
Yeah.
To again, speak on behalf of everything that embodies epilepsy community, but giving just a message of feeling honorable, honestly.
Yeah.
Of having the privilege to wake up after this.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, kind of like you said. I mean, not everybody. Somebody's not having that opportunity, Somebody's not having that opportunity to march another day and, bless somebody's life or put something out there. And so we've got to, and I think that's everybody, right? Yeah. Everybody's got to take that into account. That's like, you've been blessed with an opportunity to be here today. And, you can either throw that away or show up and make something of it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I do think there's a lot of comparison, right? We're always online or watching everybody else's life online or watching things going on around us and maybe seeing the outcome of people's lives and thinking that's what I want, but we're not actually living and building our own outcomes.
Absolutely.
And that's I think that's why a lot of people find themselves depressed, even if they don't have a disability or a struggle in their life. Well, everybody has some sort of struggle, but if they're not going through something, you just find a lot of people depressed with their own situation.
I agree. I agree to an extent, because again, it's the access, right? The access that we have, the access that we have. I mean, we take our phones out, right? I can see what someone's doing, right? If they've shared it, but the willingness to share,
right?
The willingness to share our lives, again, comes with pros and cons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that you gotta be responsible, with. Right, we're responsible with the content you put out, right? Because context can be mixed up, right?
Right.
When you start getting in this, when you start getting into this mentality that, you know, I like what they have, or I want what they have. You know, even if it's not consciously,
Yeah.
even if your intent is not to, you know, consciously do do a disservice to yourself, you
Right.
are,
Yeah.
because unconsciously or consciously, you're not you kind of get into this space where you feel like you're not satisfied with what you have,
Yeah.
or you don't even start to build the Legos. Like, you don't start to build the Legos in your own house or your
Yeah.
own room, in your own community or your own life, right? And you have all the tools, right? You got
Yeah.
all the tools, you got all the Legos to build this life that you want. But because I'm paying attention to, you know, so much of what they got going on, right? I'm throwing my Legos in the garbage, right? I'm not
Right.
utilizing my tools in my toolbox,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's that victim, you know, versus victor mentality.
Yeah. Well, and there's only one you, right? There's only one version of you. You've got all these people don't realize all the skills and gifts and abilities they've been given, but to put it on a spiritual sense, because I know you talk about God and the role He's played, and I'd like to hear more about that. But He, I think sometimes when people start looking at everybody else, they're kind of in a sense. And granted, I get not everybody watching is going to be spiritual, but in a sense, if you do believe in God, you're kind of throwing what He's given you away. You're telling Him, I don't like the Legos you've given me. I want somebody else's Legos. In essence, right?
Well, I think that I mean, we hear that, and this is, I'm sure, I mean, everybody's heard it, right? It could be cliche, but there's a reason everybody says God's timing,
Yeah.
right? Because, right, if we kind of draw this back and dial this back into, me just even feeling invincible,
Yeah.
right, me feeling invincible, coming to ASU, right? I'm that guy. I'm invincible. I'm starting as a freshman. Be actually, when I first got on campus, I actually broke my collarbone. That's why I couldn't play in
Okay. Yeah.
2013, and then was diagnosed with in 2014. But I guess what I'm getting at is, in that invincible mindset, in that invincible mode that I was, locked in, because I'm trying to turn vision, into reality. It's not that necessarily when I got into this mode of, okay, well, now I got to transition, right? Right. I've been diagnosed with a disorder. I've been diagnosed with epilepsy specifically,
Yeah.
right? And now I got to figure things out,
Sure.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got something there, that is essentially in my mind at that time is stopping me from getting to where getting to where I'm trying to go.
Right.
But this was the perfect roadblock. This was the perfect roadblock, if you will, in my life, and had to happen for me in my life to be in this chair and be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that it's throwing away. I mean, if you're not actually building, if you're looking at your toolbox, you're looking at the Legos, right, that's in the closet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I don't think that you need to look at it, or you're necessarily throwing away what God has given you. I just think that it takes a specific time. Sometimes, like grandmama said, we got to touch the stove sometimes
Yeah.
to figure out it's hot, right? So it's just certain time that things click on for folks in their life, right? Certain things have to happen
Yeah.
at a specific time for that just to align,
Yeah.
for them to pick up that toolbox, right? Because picking up the toolbox, picking up those Legos and building those Legos too early
Yeah.
could be,
Right.
it could be a problem as well, right?
So sometimes it's experiences that help kind of open your eyes and get you on the path,
No, absolutely.
and just pull it more into focus.
Pull it more into focus.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about your. Have you always been super religious and had a kind of a spiritual connection, and or is that something that you've gained over time? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So my mother and my father. My father's actually pastor's kid, and my grandfather's a
Yeah.
pastor. His dad was a pastor. So I mean, we was pretty much raised in the church.
Yeah.
Raised in the church.
Yeah.
And my mother sang in the church,
Mm-hmm.
so my mother sang all her life. So and so I mean I've always been religious in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean I've always had that faith. Right?
Surrounded by it. Yeah.
I've always been surrounded, by having an understanding of believing in something there higher than me that I can't see.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever you believe in a sense, something's gotta center you.
Right.
Right. Something's gotta center you. And a lot of things that tend to center folks are earthly.
Mm.
Right. It's like I just got a new car that centered me.
Yeah.
I feel centered. I feel balanced. I feel more focused. Or I'm married now. I feel centered. Right. But you've got to find that balance. You got to find that identity and center within yourself.
Yeah.
And for me specifically, when I was going through tough times, good times, tough times, things that I couldn't comprehend, just having that faith and believing in something that I couldn't see,
Yeah.
and believing in the Heavenly Father, it definitely helped me pull me through.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think
definitely leaned on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's if you don't have, especially when you're going through something tough, you don't have something to lean back on, or even, especially your example is a perfect example. It's you're going through all this. You don't know why it's happening to you. You don't know what's going on. You don't know why your life's taking a different turn than what you expected, and sometimes you're not going to have that why for a while. Or some cases never. Depending on what your circumstance is, and so, what do you almost need God in a sense to give that to, and say, I don't have a reason, I don't have a why. I've got to just give it to you and let you take it on, because I can't take it on.
Absolutely. That's that saying of let go, let God.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, I mean, for me specifically, right, in my life, that's what definitely helped me kind of get through, those times, because just personal opinion, right.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that dollar analogy, right? Like you said it yourself, Matt. Right? You want another dollar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
After you touch it, you feel it, you smell it, right? You smell it. You're gonna want another dollar.
Yeah.
Right? So in those tough times, or in those dark times, even if they're good times, right? Even in the good times, the better parts of our life, right? Where everything is just clicking, right? Where everything just feels like it's the green light. It's just we're on the street and everything is just green light, right? Like we just rolling, right? Even in those good times and or tough times, essentially the question would be what is actually going to make you, what's going to make you happy beyond this another dollar, this next dollar, right? Right, what's going to make you happy beyond this car, right?
Right.
Once I go get this car, right, I go get this home, right, it needs to be painted, right? Now it needs to be fixed. Now I need to add another bedroom. Now I always got to upgrade. Right.
Get that new iPhone.
Right. I always got to get the right. I'm still sitting on the iPhone 12.
Yeah.
But it's like I always got to get the new upgrade, right? I always got to. I'm always reaching for that, right? Which is no problem that you want more in life.
Yeah.
But those are all earthly things, right? So those are all earthly things. So if you're sitting in a dark time, right? If you're sitting in a space where it's like, man, I don't know why this is happening to me, I don't know what's going on, and I may never get closure. Mm-hmm. For me personally, I don't think an iPhone, a new upgrade on a car, a new upgrade on that that's not gonna be the reason that fills your cup up.
Yeah.
Right. It might fill you temporarily up for a week or two, a month or two, but deeper down, right? You want to dig into the root. When you get to that comfortable space and you want to dig into the root of like who you're becoming and why you are the way you are, right? And what kind of life you envision. That's when you kind of get deeper rooted into a spiritual realm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things are so. They're fleeting, right? As you mentioned, and they can be taken away. That's the hard part, right? As soon as, and that can be taken away by somebody, or it can be taken away by yourself, or even just the feeling of it can be taken away. And so, there's not really there's not a long term to it.
Not
You
long
know,
term.
you can get a couple dollars, but those couple dollars can go away really quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I kind of want to kick it back. We kind of started right when you were in college and leaned into that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your upbringing, your childhood, living in Ohio, trying to work your way up, and then we'll kind of circle back around. But tell me a little bit about your upbringing. We got a little bit of flavor there from your it sounds like your parents and kind of being in the church and things like that. But tell me about your upbringing.
Oh man, so I got a brother. I got an older brother. I got the older brother. He played at Wisconsin. I got a sister. We're all 2 years apart.
Okay. There you go.
So all 2 years apart. But man, Ohio, man, I grew up in the heart of it, man. Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Shout out Westerville South. Well, that's where I graduated high school out of. But suburb right outside of Columbus. But man, upbringing was it was rough at times. It was tough at times. But man, I shout out my parents, both of them. Man, they did what they had to do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of folks don't understand. I understand this now that I have kids.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of folks don't understand that, man. The sacrifices that your parents had to make, you know, for you to thrive or for you to be in a situation that you want to be in, or to give them. Because I think a leader, in my standpoint, a leader in general is just somebody who has the ability and capacity to bring, vision into reality. Right.
I like that. Yeah.
So as a parent, it's like, man, I have this capacity or the ability to bring this vision into reality, and I didn't really realize, although it was, had some rough times, in upbringing, right? We went from no water, take boiling water on the stove to get stuff done, sometimes missed a meal, sometimes had I had a house with a movie theater in it, right? And then moved around a lot, right? So, I couldn't comprehend it, couldn't make sense of it, but my parents did what they had to do.
Yeah.
My parents did what they had to do. So shout out to them. They did what they had to do to raise, two young men and one grown woman. We all have kids now, but they did what they had to do to put us in a good situation, and they actually allowed us to see. They were open with their struggles as well. So it allowed us to kind of formulate and get an idea of how to handle this, going forward. But in Ohio is it's a good place, man. It's what birthed me. I got it tatted on the chest, man. It's what birthed me. I love the place. I haven't been back in a while, but because nobody likes the snow.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, it gets cold.
Yeah, it definitely gets cold, man. But it was Ohio it's definitely small. It's definitely small. But the Midwest, man, the Midwest folk is a little different. That's something that I actually realized when I came out here. Just the Midwest folk is a little different than everybody's just super friendly, man, in Ohio, man.
Yeah.
Like my community in Ohio, Westerville, man, everybody, like, man, and maybe I'm biased too because we grew up in that. I'm saying this like I'm old, man. I'm only 30, but like, I mean, when I was growing up, right, you go to the next door neighbor house, right? Your parents could let you sit there on the porch or let you go into the house, right? They make you a meal, and they knew you were safe, right?
Right.
Everybody was playing in the street,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everybody's playing in the street, playing football, right? We gathering friends, right? We running around, no shoes, socks dirty, right?
Yeah.
Holes in the street, playing tackle football in the street, right?
Yeah.
So it was just the times a little different.
Sure.
Times definitely a little bit different, but Ohio definitely is still it's definitely always in my heart. Definitely a reason I haven't went back. But I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here where I'm at today if it wasn't for my upbringing, where
Sure.
I'm from, and who contributed to that life.
Yeah. Yeah, I met well, I didn't meet your mom personally, but she was at that conference that we both kind of, or I saw you at. And it seems like very supportive,
Oh
seems
yeah.
like. And so tell me a little about your mom a little bit more and your parents in general, just, what, because you talked about how their support, that circle around you during the tough times has
No.
made all the difference. And I'm not sure everybody gets that. That's something that some people have a great support circle and some people are kind of on their own. And so tell me a little bit more about that.
Man, I appreciate you asking, man.
Yeah.
My mother actually moved, moved from Ohio. So when I was diagnosed, and I was actually about to have my first brain surgery, February 23rd of 2018.
Yeah.
She actually moved to Arizona,
Oh, cool.
for me. So she uprooted her whole life, right, and moved to Arizona,
Yeah.
to take care of me. So
Does she miss the snow?
man, she'll miss the snow. And nobody miss
Nobody
scrape.
misses snow.
Yeah, nobody miss scraping ice off the windows before we gotta go to a 10 o'clock meeting, 8 o'clock meeting, man. And,
There's nothing worse
definitely,
than that.
I remember missing so many days of school in high school. Matter of fact, back in Ohio, we had to start school early the next year because we
Oh,
missed so many days.
the snow days and
Yes, do the snow days, man. Like so.
Yeah.
But nah, man. My mom uprooted her whole life. To support her baby. I'm always gonna be mother's baby. So
Yeah.
she definitely is super supportive, and she again gave me refine, reshape, kind of reframe my purpose, right, when I was going through those tough times. Right, I don't know what my life would look like. Honestly, I don't know what my life would look like if I didn't have folks like my mother, family, a belief and a faith, right, in God. There, um, I don't know what it would look like, you know, if not only if I didn't just have a combination of those, but
Yeah.
if even if one was missing, if one was missing out of that chain, right, if one was missing, I don't know what my life would look like.
Yeah.
So my mother, uprooted her life. Shouts out to her because again, I don't know where I would be. She's always again reframed just my mindset. Because there's times that like I said, I didn't even I didn't want to wake up, man.
Yeah.
It got to a point where it was like, man, like if all I'm gonna do is wake up, right, and again, and not knowing why, right, not having any closure, right,
Yeah.
not having any understanding, any idea, right, and I think it's different when you're a kid, right? When you're a kid, you're a 5-year-old kid, 6-year-old kid. God bless those who are, because I do know a lot of folks in our epilepsy community that are kids with seizures.
Yeah.
But when you're a kid, essentially, it's a different formality and structure because you don't understand mentally.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I understand. Okay, there's never gonna be a cure for this, right?
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get any closure for this. I don't know why, this is happening. And my mom, was the person that was, hey, Marcus, you got to get up.
Mm.
You got to get up, right? Because in my mindset was like, hey, well, if all I'm living for is to get up, wake up, have a seizure, just to go back to sleep,
Right.
right? Because that's what I mean. Seizure, it's painful, but it's like you go back to sleep, right? You're unconscious essentially, depending on what type of seizure you have. So, if in my mind it's like if all I'm doing is waking up to have a seizure, it's like why wake up, baby? It hurt. That's my mother. That's how my mother. Baby, you gotta get up. You gotta wake up. It's gonna be okay, right? And just hearing that every day, hearing that you're here for a reason. It's gonna be okay, baby. You gotta wake up. It's gonna be okay.
Mm.
Hearing that and having that support, man, I can't even put it into words, man.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I gotta imagine that makes all the difference. Just having somebody in your corner who's cheering you on no matter what the situation brings.
Absolutely.
I would imagine too, where, you talked about, in essence, even with younger kids, you know, you're right. I think they're going through it, but their mentality's a little different.
Yeah.
You know, you're an adult now. You've had all these years to kind of build a mentality of who you are and what you're doing, and so in essence, you know, you had to almost kind of break that down and rebuild. You know, what's this new chapter? Who am I?
Right.
So what does that new chapter look like now? You know, obviously you've been through 3 brain surgeries, and how did those go? By the way, I don't think I even asked. How did those brain surgeries go?
They I would say they're successful.
Yeah.
I would definitely say they're successful, man. Like I said, I was used to having 4, 5, 6 seizures a week, and you know now I may get one every 2 months, 3 months.
Okay. Yeah.
So you know, they're definitely. I mean, that's a success for me.
Yeah. Totally.
Right. You know, for me personally, that's a success for me, because I've got the freedom. I got the freedom to, you know, work. I've got the freedom to, you know, do a bunch of different things there that, you know, I wasn't able to do, you know, due to, you know, epilepsy, due to, you know, the disorder, right? You know, it kept me still.
Yeah.
It kept me still for so long, but again, because it kept me still for so long, it actually helped me kind of vision and reframe what that picture, that next chapter was going to look like. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of time.
Yeah.
I had a lot of time to actually look at, well, if I could do something, what would I do? What would this look like? You know, who would I be? Who do I want to be going forward? And that's one of the reasons I actually got heavily involved with Brittany,
Yeah.
with the Epilepsy Foundation. Brittany Miller's the Epilepsy Foundation. She's director of the Epilepsy Foundation of Arizona. So one of the reasons I got heavily involved with this was, you know, just to give back. But I had a lot of time on my hands to kind of figure that out and what that looked like.
Yeah.
You know, due to, you know, God just saying, hey, well, I'm sitting you down for this reason, for this purpose. And I know you don't know what you have in store, or I know you don't know that, you know, what I have in store for you, rather. But it's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be sunshine on the other side.
Yeah.
You just got to be patient, right? You don't got to lean on your own understanding. You got to lean on mine,
Yeah.
right? And again, layering that up with the support that I had, you know, put me in that space. But currently now I'm, you know, mentoring folks on sales at Dish Network. So got that going. Me and my buddy that I actually played with, name is Robert Nelson, played at Arizona State. He played safety. He played corner. I'm sorry, I played safety. He played corner at that time. And we started a clothing athleisure company called Adaptability.
Okay.
Went brick and mortar for a while. I was in Scottsdale for a while, and now online, and you know, bleeding into the youth as far as the athleisure stuff there, like the cleats.
Kel, see if we can look that up on the computer. We can pull that up on the screen.
The computer died.
Oh, never mind. The computer died. So, what's the name of the brand?
It's called Awatica Wave.
Awatica Wave.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. You know, so I'll definitely throw some gear in here for you, but man, yeah, I mean, so it's definitely like I said, I had a lot of time, man.
Yeah.
You know, and because again, I have folks in my life that again was just lifting me up constantly. You know, lifting me up constantly. You know, it allowed me to get out of that, again, victim mentality. So what I was doing with my time was ideal, and it was a direct result of where I'm at today.
Yeah.
Because I was using my time. You know, when I got up around to it, you know, I was using my time effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people there's a benefit in just sitting in the silence and trying to just figure out yourself, figure out what's next, and even, you know, you mentioned kind of listening to God, you know, figuring out what does He have in store and what does that next chapter look. Kind of have a conversation with Him and just ask, you know, where's this leading, and obviously, you know, he may not show all the pieces up front, but he guides the way. So how do you, for people who are listening, because I think, you've obviously had experiences that kind of given you this outlook on life and where you're at. How do people, because they're not going to necessarily have the same experiences as you or I or anyone else, but how can they foster that? How can they foster this mentality and kind of figure out their path?
That's a great question, man. And what I would always draw back to, because again, whatever you're doing, right, wherever you're at now, and whatever you like to do,
Yeah.
right. I'm a firm believer in vision in the vision board, right. I'm a firm believer in actually writing things down, and speaking them, right. Speaking them into the mirror, right.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, because it's one of those things where if I put something in your face every day,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure what you like, you like prime rib,
Yeah. Sure.
right?
I like it.
Right? If I put it in front of your face every day, eventually you'd be tempted to do what?
I'm gonna eat that.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, regardless of what the scenario is, regardless of where you're at now, for the folks that's listening, regardless of where you're at now, right? Continue to feed positive, not only positive energy, but everything and anything that you vision yourself that you want to do, speak it.
Yeah.
Speak it to yourself. Actually speak it to yourself. Say it out loud, right? Speak it to the folks that are driving your purpose, because purposeful people, they have good results, because purposeful people, they have people that follow. Someone with a vision, someone with purpose, a lot of folks get behind and lead. Yeah. They get behind them and, push them up the hill because they see, a person, a young lady or a young woman with purpose. So what I would recommend personally, that vision board, having a vision board, speaking that, to yourself every day. So you're reinforcing that mindset, reinforcing a good behavior or a mindset that is, hey, I'm going to do this. And then lastly, when we hear the word no, right? Because I heard, to me, in my scenario, in my situation, this is whether it's work. Again, I don't care what scenario it is, whether it's work, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a disorder, right? Regardless of what element, of life or what genre of life we could be talking about. Don't hear the word no. Right? No is not never. Right? That's how I live by that. No is not never. Right? I mean, and of course I'm in sales, right? So I hear the word no. I hear the word no all the time.
Yeah.
But no is not never. Right? That can be with, again, your relationship. That can be with your disorder. Right? That's just that hope. Right? It's like I feel like I'm being told no. I'm refined and restricted to my disorder, my disability rather. I cannot function because of this, but no is not never. Right? And having that little bit of hope, having that little bit of faith, just in that hope and that principle, combined with speaking it every day, right? Speaking life to yourself in existence, life and hope to yourself, and speaking it out loud. I think that would help a lot of folks create a vision, that would turn vision to reality.
Yeah, keeping it at the forefront. Keeping it I think a lot of people, they have an idea pop in here or there, and then it just gets lost in the the bustle of life and everything going on around them, and then they never come back around.
And that's a good point that you make, man. Because I actually tell my lady this all the time, and a lot of folks that actually, if I'm being honest, I'm quite not the entrepreneur spirit, man. I'm not necessarily the entrepreneur spirit.
Really?
I'm more so of the driver that gets behind somebody who is the entrepreneur spirit, right? So, and I say that because the point that you just made is like, hey, well, a lot of folks will start something, right? Or a lot of folks will say, or they're visionaries, right?
Right.
Dreamers, big dreamers, visionaries, and they'll start something, kind of tap into it, just for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
right? Or believe this, or believe their confidence for a couple of weeks, or believe that this will work out for a couple of weeks, a couple of days, and then they'll tap out of that,
Yeah.
right? Because they're either looking for the next best thing or they've lost hope,
Right.
right? And again, just regardless of where you're trying to get, I think, never hear a no. It's just not yet. It's just not yet. It's just not yet. It's no, it's not never. It's just not yet. Right. This is just a pause.
Yeah.
This is just a silence and a pause and a hold in your life that you need. You don't know that you need it, but with this silence, you can be a better you.
Yeah.
You can be a better you when you finally, attain what you was actually trying to get.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree. I think a lot of people start something, or they get motivated, right, to do something, and then they start, it doesn't go as planned, or they don't feel the instant success or the gratification of it, and that desire fizzles. And in reality, it probably was just, no, you've taken this first step. I need you now to just listen, wait, wait like a few minutes, just give it some time, and realize it's going to take some work, it's going to take some effort. And that's one thing I've always admired about people who do athletics is even if they don't necessarily have that, that entrepreneurship mindset off the bat, they know that it takes hard work generally. And and especially if you start doing athletics young, you're used to I show up every day, I put in the work, I do the grind, I do the effort, I do the part that sucks to get the reward.
Absolutely. I agree with you. That's a good point that you made, Matt. I love that because it's a routine. It's a pattern of a great behavior, but to kind of reiterate, what you just mentioned, and in the grand scheme of things, you just mentioned what motivation looks like versus discipline.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are motivated.
Yeah.
But motivation phases.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can motivate you today to get you up to go to work. By the maybe an hour into the shift, you're like, man, I'm ready to be off.
Yeah.
Right. I'm done with this. Right. And then the next 2-3 hours you're clocked back in mentally. Right, because I'm motivated to, reach a certain goal now, or I got motivated because I heard somebody speak, or I got motivated. But motivation, that can tend to fade.
Yeah.
Right. Discipline is something that you've acquired, and you've mastered, and you've repetitively and consistently, right, have done something X, Y, Z, regardless of what it is. You're disciplined and you're rooted in that.
Yeah.
Right. So even on those tough days, you're not looking at it like, I want to quit.
Right.
Because you're disciplined.
Yeah.
You're disciplined. I show up every day with this mentality. I show up to work. I show up with a great mindset, even if I do not like it, right? Whether it's my boss, I don't want to hear my boss mouth today. I don't want to eat these vegetables, right?
Yeah.
We could be talking about anything, right? Kid, right? Eating vegetables, right? Or kid, going through the trials and tribulations of, becoming an athlete from, junior high to high school or from college, all right, going through those trials and tribulations. If you are disciplined, and you kind of understand and grasp the idea of what motivation versus discipline looks like, and you stay rooted in that discipline, those are going to be the folks that, can excel and stay rooted in that pattern, because it's not gonna fade.
Yeah.
They know what they have to do, and they know they have to do the right thing even when no one's looking.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's funny. I had a friend once. He was kind of a bigger boy, and he was dieting down, cutting, and I remember we were sitting in the car one time, and I wouldn't recommend the diet he was doing. I'm not saying he had the best method, but I remember asking him, I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I can't remember what he was eating or the scenario, but he just leans over to me. He's like, I'm not eating for pleasure. I'm eating for requirement. And while in the moment, it was really funny because his method was pretty messed up. I still think about that every day. I'm just like, that was a pretty wise thought.
Nah,
I'm not.
I'm not eating for. Wait, say that again. He said I'm not eating for
I'm not
pleasure. I'm eating
eating for
for requirement.
requirement.
Nah, I love that though.
I was like, all right, well, and he did slim down. I mean, I don't know if it was the healthiest way he did it, but he lost the weight. So, but I just remember them saying that, and I think I think I can apply to almost anything in life.
No,
I'm
absolutely.
not doing it for the pleasure. I'm doing
Nah,
it for the
absolutely.
requirement.
Like and like I said, that's just like that pleasure, for whether you want to call it pleasure, motivation,
Yeah.
right? That's just that gap. That's just that difference of what that looks like. It's like, I mean, I've been motivated. I woke up with a vision to be motivated to go, do X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
right? And by the end of the day, something happens. I get a bad phone call,
Yeah.
and I don't get around to. I don't get around to the person I was supposed to get around to, or I don't get around to the community that I was supposed to get around to, or I don't get around to putting the paint on the house that I was supposed to. I don't get around to, doing the things, in the home that I'm supposed to do, right? Because, again, I was motivated to do it, but, again, something distracted me,
Yeah.
and it faded by the end of the day. But when you're disciplined and you're rooted in discipline, right, right? And you built up that pattern, it's like, okay, well, now I got to look at it this way. XYZ needs to get done. I got a plan for this. I know I don't want to do this. I know I don't like this, or I know I don't have to eat this, or I don't want to eat this. But I'm going to look at this as a requirement because I know that this equals this equals this. It's going to give me this result.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay disciplined all through what it's going to give me as that result because I want that. I'm seeking that. I need that result, right? So that definitely.
Yeah, and so I think it's a powerful thing too. When you find that thing that you're gonna go chase, and you have that purpose, it makes all the difference in your life. And I think a lot of people are constantly on the search for what that purpose is, and sometimes honestly, it's just getting started and putting in that work and building that discipline, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And then the other pieces kind of fall in place. And I think a lot of people are out here searching for that final outcome of I need to know this and then I'll do all the work, and it's like sometimes you just got to get started and those pieces fall into place.
And that's a controversial topic, man, like purpose, like because you want, I mean, as a father you want your kids to find a purpose, right? As a husband, father, friend, somebody that you love or are near and dear to, you want them to find a purpose. But, that, what is purpose? What does that look like, right? There's always that question of, okay, what is that? And does purpose change?
Yeah, right.
Does, even I can be disciplined and rooted in heavy measures of discipline, but again, like my purpose of my life changed.
Yeah.
Right, like I thought my purpose was, of course, to wake up, go hit somebody, get paid for it, and I was gonna be invincible doing it.
Yeah.
But what my purpose at that time was, right? That's completely changed.
Yeah.
Right, that's completely changed. And had I not had, again, I don't like to call these roadblocks, right? Had I not had the Heavenly Father, say, what, this is happening because of XYZ, and this is going to root you in a different purpose, and a purpose that I actually want you to live in. Mm-hmm. The reason that you're actually here, on earth is to actually just breathe in air, articulate, communicate, love, and be united with folk. Mm. Essentially, that's the only purpose we're here for.
Right.
Because once we're gone, we evaporate the dust or whatever. And are we purposeless then? Are we? Do we have any purpose still left? Once we're dead and gone, it's like, do we have any purpose still left? Well, if my purpose after I'm dead and gone was that I was able to move a stadium of 60,000 fans, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
You know, my purpose essentially aligns with just this here,
Mm.
everyday conversation, bringing vision into reality for others around me that are struggling, that not only are struggling but that are thriving.
Yeah.
Right? Continue to push. You know, those who are thriving. Continue to uplift those who are struggling. To bring vision into reality at that moment, at that time in their life, so they can define what their purpose essentially looks like, whether that's again today or next year. But gradually it's going to change, right? It gradually can change, but I think that's why I'm here
Yeah.
and here today as well, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree. I think your purpose from day to day will probably not shift drastically, but over time will continuously adapt with who you are and where you're going and where you need to be, and even the people who need you in their lives, and that can change your purpose too. So we've been talking about it. You mentioned some of the work you do with mentoring those in sales, also with your clothing brand, and just kind of your overall belief system. We've been talking about that, but you mentioned that vision board, having that vision in front of you. What's on your vision board, leading forward? What are you looking towards in the future and moving forward and chasing?
Man, so I got some big plans here coming up, November 15th, and this is again something that I've been actually working. Shout out again to Miss Brittany Miller.
Yeah.
Again, that's director of the Epilepsy Foundation in Arizona, man. So she's been heavily involved, in this. But this was just something there that we've been planning and working on for a very long time. Um, so November 15th, Arizona State plays West Virginia, and
Mm.
we actually were able to get a total of 25 tickets, so
Okay.
20 families there who have a loved one diagnosed with epilepsy and or know a loved one that is epileptic. They're actually going to have a whole section for us to sit pregame. We're
Yeah.
actually going to be out there, on pregame. Of course, going to acknowledge the community, and it's our month too. So
Yeah. There you go.
it's nice that it's Epilepsy Awareness Month as well. So that's just something there that's on my vision board and has been on my vision board
Yeah.
for a while. Um, Now, as far as on the other scale of the vision board, man, you know, marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage is on the vision board. That's the next step. I think that's definitely a big key. A big key in life is to find a helpmate
Mm.
and be a helpmate as well, to be able to share these experiences with
Absolutely.
every day. And to be able to share those experiences with somebody that you love near and dear, man, on that level is definitely a beautiful thing. So that's definitely on the vision board. And then it just be more advocacy, man. More advocacy, for again those not only just in the epilepsy community, but I guess the reason I actually went into the role that I'm in now, at my job, being a mentor, it was I've always just had a burning passion to help someone understand what they can obtain, what they can achieve, what they can accomplish, what they can do,
Mm.
uh,
Yeah.
but they just can't see,
Yeah.
right? I just wanted to kind of turn that switch on. Man, it's so awesome. Like I mean, I see it with when I see it with my kids, right? When it's like I'm playing with just little toys and I can't get it done, and then it gets done and it clicks, like that clicking moment, right? That clicking moment, whether you're getting it on the football field, right, or in sales or at your job, right, at home, that clicking moment when it's just like, all right, this all makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, this all makes sense, man. That's so rewarding for me, man. That's so rewarding for me. So that's definitely, just to continue to touch others and stay in a community, in a space rather, to continue to do so. I think that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Like literally, I think that's why I'm here. On this planet is just to continue to touch as many people as I can, and again, bring vision into reality.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree. What's the best part about being a dad? You mentioned your kids a couple times, and I just got married recently, and we're not having any kids anytime. Well, I sure hope that's not the case. I haven't been told of anything, but yeah, I go downstairs. She tells me that. I sure hope not, but
You'll find out tomorrow.
yeah. Eventually, it might not be correct once this podcast is posted, but as of yet, I don't know of any kids on the way. But that's something in the future I'm looking forward to. So, what, having been there, have a couple kids, what's that like? What's the best part of being a dad, and what are you learning from it?
And the best part of being a dad is, man, it's just having to look after someone that one, especially as they're young, right? As they're young, because my kids, my son's 8, my daughter before January. As they're young, right, they're formulating these ideas. Like kids are a lot more visionary and dreamers than adults, right? That kind of starts to slow down, as adults. But having to look after, someone who's just formulating identity and having fun in life, and completely, going into a space where you have to be unselfish. Right? You can no longer, the talk is not, well, I want to go up the street because I like that car up the street and I want to go get that. Like having the responsibility and looking at it like, man, I've established or I'm working towards everything I'm working towards for the betterment of my children and leaving something behind for them. Man, that's the most rewarding part, man. The most rewarding part is just understanding like you completely have taken off that selfish mask. Right, that selfish, you've completely, like, because if you don't, it's just not going to work for you.
Right.
But when you get to that space where you completely just start to care more about others, whether it's your kids, family, friend, but being a dad specifically, you completely just like, you get to a point where it's like, man, I would die for this person. That's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful feeling, man. It's a beautiful feeling.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. No, I can imagine. I bet that's having something that powerful, I guess, in your life.
Yeah.
It gives you, I guess, in a sense, it gives you a lot of purpose. Like we were talking about.
That purpose can change. That like I said, I mean that's a funny. Again, it's always been a funny topic for me because, again, purpose, can change. It can change, right?
It's one of those terms that get thrown around a lot, yeah.
It can change weekly, monthly, whatever you're going to call it, right? But that's a new profound that's a new profound, when you get there, right, yourself, that's going to be a new profound, focus or purpose, rather, that you have in your life, right? And it's funny because as parents, we tend to think that we actually do more for our kids than they do for us, but they actually do more for us than we do for them.
Yeah. How so? What do you mean by that?
Man, the things that kids teach us, right? There's always that little voice before you go to sleep, or whether that's when you wake up during the day.
Yeah.
It's always that little voice like, all right, who am I? What am I doing? Where am I at? It's always that little voice in the back, right, in the mind. But kids teach you so much about yourself. Kids teach you so much about yourself. Having them being able to take care of them, having to take care of them, right? It teaches you so much about who you actually are as a human being, right? Like beyond just a dad or a mother, but who you really are as a human being. And what you essentially what you're actually going to kind of graduate or become into your being later on, because the child is so innocent.
Yeah.
Right? The child is so dependent as well. Not only innocent, but dependent, on you. So you're really just learning from this. You're learning from the dependency.
Yeah.
Right? Like us as adults, we're independent.
Right.
We like to think that we're independent, right? But it's like this kid is solely like, it's like, hey man, I need this. Can you go get this? Can you do 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 that? Right? It teaches you patience. It teaches you discipline. Right? It teaches you how to be unselfish. But it makes you look so within your heart and who you are, and it molds you into a completely new, profound person. It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now take your time, though.
Yeah.
Take your time, man. Because I heard you just got recently married, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Within the last 2.5 months. So.
Hey, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Nah, congratulations, man. Like I said, enjoy the marriage, man. Enjoy the marriage first. Take your time. Ain't no rush.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're yeah. She's in nursing school right now, so. Every time I joke about it, not necessarily because I want to, but I know she doesn't want to yet. She's like, not till I'm done with nursing school. We're not getting into that. So yeah. So we're hopefully we're at least a year off is the hope. But yeah, it sounds from everything I've heard, with having kids, it's most people tend to really enjoy it, and they say it's a blessing.
Man, super blessing, and it's something that. It's something in the perfect world that it'd be nice to plan for.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of similar to anything that I have on my vision board, right? That is strategically planned out.
Yeah.
Right. That's strategically planned out because I want it. I need that vision, right? And I logistically got to put all the puzzles in piece, right, to get there.
Right.
But with kids, sometimes that's not planned.
Right.
But it's one of the most beautiful, whether it's planned or unplanned, it's one of the most beautiful experiences there that you're going to go through in your life, man. Because, again, it just dials everything back, and you have to completely, take the mask off that you were wearing before.
Yeah. Right?
And somebody that's truly dependent on you and looking up to you. Looking up to you, like in the most lovable way, man, looking up to you and just hearing the word dad.
Yeah.
Right, man. It's beautiful. Man.
Yeah. Well, I love how you said it too, because I think a lot of people, parenthood and having kids and everything I think it can be intimidating. It's scary. And the truth is, in a world where you're focused on what you talked about, the worldly things, the earthly things, kids don't really make a whole lot of sense, And I think a lot of people look at that going, that doesn't fit my plan. That doesn't fit the goal, and so for you to share the, all the things you can learn and the benefits, and I think people discount that a lot and don't realize all the good, and and that's why I think sometimes the best thing is kids being unplanned, because you may not think you need them in your life, but really until you have them, you don't need you need them, but in reality you do.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, and I love how you put that, man, because a lot of folks, again, whether it's planned, unplanned, some of the most unplanned things that happen in our life, right? Some of the most unplanned things that happen in our life, or what's something that we would call a setback, or not that a kid is a setback, but it's like, oh, well, I didn't plan this. Why? Dang, I have to change my job function, or I have to, and like you said, it can be intimidating.
Right.
I have to change my job function. I have to do this. Now I have to do this, right? But there's so much, you hear it every day. There's so many people that are like, if that would have never happened. Like, it's funny that everybody essentially, whether you're younger or older, that we've kind of talked to, they all have the same story.
Yeah.
In that regards to those unplanned things that had happened in their life.
Yeah.
It's always, well, if that would have never happened, though, yeah, I wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't. My life, I don't know what it would look like, right? If that didn't happen. So there's got to be beauty in that.
Yeah.
Right. There's got to be beauty in the fact of the unknown, and my girl, she's a planner. She's a planner. I want it right here. I want this at this time, like this at this time.
Yeah.
But when you let go, and you let God, when you let go and you just, hey, everything's gonna fall into line, because it's beyond your control anyway.
Yeah.
Right? It's beyond your control anyway, right? Right. Life's gonna throw us curveballs. We got to take the crookeds with the straights. And if it's beyond your control, and you understand that, there's several different things that's moving around in the atmosphere that are beyond your control,
Yeah.
right? You kind of just got to be a chameleon. You got to be adaptable. You got to be a chameleon in an environment and adapt to what's thrown at you.
Yeah.
Have a positive outlook. And with kids specifically, man, that's one of the things that I hear the most. Everybody that I've talked to is if I didn't have, a child, if I did, I don't know who I would be. Right, this has changed me for the rest of my life, and it's the best thing. It's the best unplanned thing that's ever happened. So, and it's always what I hear, man.
Yeah. No, I've heard similar, and I think people don't. You probably don't appreciate it much until you have it in your experience, but yeah, I agree. I think people want to feel like they've got, the steering wheel and they're in control of their life, and to some degree you are, but if you hand more to God and let Him take control, I think things turn out in a positive direction.
Absolutely, man. And you can only take so much control. You can only take so much control of your life. Because at what point do you ask for help?
Yeah.
Right. We'd all like to think that, again, we're independent. We have control in the ecosphere, right? We all would like to think that we have control, whether that's in our job or we have control of what's going to happen tomorrow. That's something that you said, like you said earlier. It's like, hey, you don't even know. We don't know if we can wake up. We don't know if we're gonna wake up, right? So there's so much unknown. So it's funny that if there's so much unknown, the question that I ask myself, or I ask anybody that's kind of looking at this, like, if there's so much unknown that can happen in this same life that essentially you're planning out to be so perfect. Where do you balance that?
Yeah.
Where does some type of balance come in, and what does it look like? And what does it look like in regards to, okay, well, I'm just gonna focus on this now, and if this comes along the way, if this door opens, let's take a look inside the door. Let's see what's there.
Yeah.
Let's see what's there. Right, it's an open door. Let's see what's there. Because now I'm just looking at so many different open doors. I've got introduced to so many different people along the way. I've got so many experience, whether that be through traveling, I'm opening the doors, whether that be through community, whether that be through, different jobs. I've opened so many doors. Now I'm actually starting to really kind of check all the things that I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't or do like, which kind of pushed me more so in the driving seat.
Yeah.
So yes, at a certain extent, we do have, control, but there is a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
Just be open to the doors that become available. Don't be afraid to take the risk of opening up those doors, peeking in the doors, studying what's in the room. And if you don't like it, if you open the door and study, what's in the room there, right? Have the discipline to walk away from the room. But it's a check. That's just one thing checked off the list here. Now you know which way to go, how you can figure it out, and how you can navigate going forward, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree. I think that's the way you make it through life and find your direction in the long run.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marcus, this has been a whole lot of fun, and I feel like it's been just a whole conversation of wisdom and insights, and I appreciate you taking the time, and I agree. I think your purpose is to be a mentor and share, and give to the many, but also give to the singular, right? And find ways to uplift people's lives. And I know mine has been from having this conversation. So thank you for taking the time.
Nah, Matt, man, I appreciate you, man, having me. No, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, man, I appreciate you having me. And I like what you're doing here. Like I said, I've definitely scrolled. I've definitely scrolled on the Instagram there, man. I've definitely scrolled on the Instagram. I love the content that you're putting out, man. Actually talking to, real human beings that come from a lot of different backgrounds, come from a lot of different experiences, man, and giving us a voice, and giving us an opportunity, to, share our wisdom, share our life, share what we're thinking, mentally, actively right now, and/or long-term, short-term goals, man. Just giving that space, man. This is a good space to have, man. And everybody needs this space, man. Don't ever forget that, man. Everybody needs that space. So I appreciate you having me, on, man. And I wish you all the best in your journey. But just never forget that this space there's always going to be a space, for this type of environment, because it's a lot of folks that don't have that. It's a lot of folks that, silenced themselves and don't have that space or don't have that door that they walked into to be able to share that.
Absolutely.
And so I love what you're doing, man. Keep thriving, man.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. Did we miss anything? Anything to plug or share? I think was there anything else?
Man, I think that's a wrap. But
okay, do you have any socials that you want people to follow or anything like that?
Man, I actually, yeah, man. So, Keep Inc. That is my nonprofit there.
Keep Inc. Okay.
Yeah, so that's and that's on Instagram. There is K.E.E.P. Inc. Incorporated. So Keep Inc.
Keep Inc. Okay.
Stands for No Unaffected Epileptic People.
Okay, very cool.
But outside of that, like I said, I just want to shout out those who are, affected in their daily life, with epilepsy and this battle and that journey. Keep battling, keep fighting, fighting. You do have purpose. Like I said, there's a reason that, he woke you up. There's a reason that you're here and you're woken up. You have breath in your lungs, right? So just keep fighting, fight the good battle, and lead with love.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks Marcus, and go follow Keep Inc. on Instagram, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks everybody.
For sure.
Awesome.